sort of policies and procedures or changes based on those people and what their needs are. And they get back in touch with that. They lost that as they scaled up and got larger. Mm-hmm. So that's another example.
Well, if you say, the successful companies have a focus on relationship building, why why isn't everyone doing it?
Yeah, they're not doing it because they just really don't know how. They aren't taught. It's easy. Companies rely on their metrics, on their data, and they read their data to make decisions, right? Mm-hmm. So with products, they have a lot of tools and systems that they're familiar with or taught to use that measure that data for them, and they can make decisions. And with processes, they have engineers in there that are, showing the, systems and how they're working and how the process is, if it's manufacturing or whatever the process is, there's people that are evaluating that. But they don't necessarily have experts in the people area. Human resources doesn't really handle that portion. Mm-hmm. That's not what human resources does in a company. So they don't have people that know how to create processes and procedures and cultures for people and then measure those things to see if they're working. But it just isn't a part that they're taught. But there are companies that go out and seek out how to learn how to do that.
Yeah, and building
they do have that in place.
Relationships is work. It takes time, mm-hmm. It takes effort, it takes thought. And mm-hmm. in the now world, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but in the now world, we want instant gratification, instant profits. We've got the internet. Just put a buy now button up there and forget about the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
right.
So many, and I see a number of businesses constantly putting up these Facebook ads, and they consistently are trying to take a person to a page to sell instantly instead of taking them through that process of providing something of value for free and getting to start building that relationship and that know, like, and trust factor. So there's such a technique to it. So you are definitely what I'm sure help a lot of people understand that.
Well, when we're talking about sales, it reminds me of my friend Bob Berg. He's the author. He's a multiple author, but he actually lives down in Jupiter. And he's one book is Endless Referrals, mm-hmm. Network Your Everyday Contacts into Sales. So, his famous quote is, all things being equal, people will do business and refer people to those businesses that they know, like, and trust. And that's a famous Bob Berg quote. And if, when we do pay attention to people, that we get referrals back. And so you can really that is one of the measurements you can use to measure what, because if you're spending money out in marketing or, that buy now button, but would it be easier just to have people going out and marketing for you because of word of mouth marketing? If a restaurant opens too soon before they're ready, they're going to get a lot of bad PR, right? And to recover from that, it's going to be really costly. So you want to have those things in place. So a simple way that I teach is most of us in business are familiar with what's called the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. And that's usually applied to something else, but we're just talking about sales here. So if you apply that to marketing and sales, so there's another very famous book, Jab, 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 Right Hook, by Gary Vaynerchuk. Mm-hmm. And that applies to, he does give, 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 ask. Well, I take it one step further with the 80-20 rule, and the jabs are give, 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 ask. So we earn the right to ask for something. It might be a sale. It might be a referral. It might be to come to an event. It might be any kind of ask. But if we have added value, that's what the giving is, giving value to people over, 80% of the time, we earn the right to ask for something, and people will respond. People listen. People open emails more. People do everything more if they know there's something of value there in your giving. It's really a golden rule, and it really works, and it's measurable.
And that's the important fact right there, is you can measure the relationships that you're building by those that respond back to you with the value that they're receiving through testimonials, whether it be on, a verbal testimonial to you, or they put it on one of your social sites. So they do get individuals that you're serving then do come back and provide that value back to you.
They do. Did you know that even the Department of Labor says the number one human need is the feeling of being appreciated?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the Department of Labor, it's a little incongruous to think that they would be measuring that. But that trumps money in job satisfaction, which is their bailiwick, that they're looking at. That trumps money and job title in people staying at a job. The feeling of being appreciated. So that's sort of one of those soft things. How do you measure that? But it's more often the reason people will stay, and we know the cost of retraining someone, so it's much more cost effective to keep an employee than to keep retraining different ones, right?
That's for sure.
Huge. That's huge. So saving money is very much making money, very much profits. So if the feeling of being appreciated trumps your salary and trumps your title, then how valuable is that for us to learn how to do that?
Oh, for sure. And, and it's like, it doesn't take much to just say thank you or you're appreciated. It's just words. I mean, you don't always have to go out and get the cards and the gifts and the flowers, but just saying it. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and there's some things I offer companies, really simple tools where they actually find out how individuals want to receive that appreciation. Cheri, here's an example. If you take two employees and let's say they have the very similar jobs, but they're two pretty different people. So an employer sees that they're doing really well, and this employer thinks, wow, I really want to recognize them for doing so well. I'm going to give them a promotion. So he goes to employee A and he says, Jack, you've been doing such a great job. Tomorrow I'm going to promote you to manager of this department. And XYZ, you've done this, that, and the other thing. He goes to employee B and says, Sarah, you've been doing such a great job. I'm going to, promote you to manager of the department. And the next day, Jack doesn't show up for work, and Sarah does. Why do you think that would be?
Comfort zone?
Yeah, that's a good thought. Any other thoughts? That leads into what I'm going to say, actually. Comfort zone.
Well, I'm thinking that... go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm thinking, well, they're two different, like you said, they're two different people. I mean, personalities and behaviors. And one, it really made an impact. The other didn't. It didn't impact them. Didn't think about it.
Yeah. And
it maybe intimidated them.
Scared them.
Yeah, intimidated them.
Scared them.
Mm-hmm.
So one might have a personality characteristic style that they're ready just to jump into something without maybe preparation or forethought.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what this employer could have done, there are simple tools to use with employees that you can assess how do they like to receive recognition. How do they what do they need to feel that feeling of appreciation? It might be a simple thank you. It might be, it depends what their drivers are. Are they driven by recognition? Maybe they want a certificate. Maybe they want to be mentioned at an employee party. Maybe they do want a promotion, but maybe they want, preparation before that promotion. So there's lots of different drivers for people that make them feel that. So it's all really about the receiver, and it really comes down to asking them. And there's very simple, when the larger the company, you might not be able to ask every single person, but you can integrate it into a job interview, and you can also integrate it into an assessment that you have that on file, so you know what's important to that person. So if you reward them or, recognize them in the way that they like to be recognized, that's going to go a lot more miles than the way you would want to be recognized. See, that employer, maybe what he would want is the promotion. So he's giving that to him because he thinks that's the most valuable thing he can do. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, some people just, as Richard said, the comfort zone, or being fearful. Maybe they don't really want a promotion; they just want to come to their job and do their job good, and have a thank you come back. I'm an attaboy. So very important. It also, that kind of reflects too how important it is then for employers to really know their employees and build that relationship and understand them a little bit more deeply.
Yes, very much so.
Interesting. Well, you mentioned when we were talking that you have, and I know you've spoken a lot about the importance of relationship marketing, but do you have a list of the 5 reasons relationship marketing is the key to success? And I know that's what our listeners are waiting for. I know that they probably already have a whole notebook full of notes, but here we go.
Okay. Well, I have 5 reasons or 5 tips. It doesn't mean there's only 5. It just means these are 5 that I offer. So the reason one I have is something that we have really kind of talked about here, but relationship building establishes this perceived value for people, and that people will do business with those they know, like, and trust. It saves money and it saves time. And the perceived value of being a friend of the company and a part of the community that company serves is inclusive, and that so directly relates to increased referred sales. So relationship building just trumps everything else that the company is trying to do, and it's throughout. It gets from the people that come to, pick your, whatever up in the morning, your garbage, or, whoever you're working with that supports that, not just your customers. Sort of a unfortunate story. I was buying a telephone at, I guess I won't mention a store.
This is evergreen.
Yeah, a certain store. And this young man, very bright, and it was very hectic. Babies crying, very hectic. I was overwhelmed by just the music in the store and all the people, and this young man totally gave me really all the focus. Once it was finally my turn, he was hyper focused on me, and stuck with me till the transfer of the numbers and all those things were really done. And I asked him at the end, I said, I complimented him and told him how he made me feel. And I asked him if I would be all right with him if I contact his manager and tell him what a good job he did. And his response to me was, "Oh, that won't matter." And I said, why do you say that? And he said, "Well, because we're not treated the way we're taught to treat other people."
Oh, my gosh.
And it's unfortunate and that the focus is on the customer, but that's like one little box only. It's not a thread that goes through the whole organization. So the building needs to be, an open door policies, it needs to be a thread through the whole organization. And
that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, that is. And so I just told him, I hope you find a position someday where you feel more valued because you really deserve it.
Wow, that's cool.
So another reason, relationship building is the most effective marketing process. So you mentioned this. How much does it cost to have a conversation? When all systems, like including social media, are used to create relationships and foster relationship-centric or people-centric type of environment, which results in trust, the returns of loyalty and referred business are huge. So social media, that's what we're talking about, is very powerful. And we need to remember to stay really positive on